How's it going, YouTube? In today's episode of Darius's Garage, the 650i is getting a set of my favorite OEM BMW wheels. Some of you may be asking why I'm even changing the rims. Why bother? What's wrong with the factory rims? Well, these aren't the factory rims. If you remember and you know these cars very well, you know that these are actually rims off of an F10 M5 winter package. These in particular are the 408Ms, 19-inch, and I really don't have too much to say bad about these rims, other than the fact that they're not 20s. These are 19-inch. I would prefer a 20-inch option, particularly at the back. I think it just doesn't look quite right with the 19. On the front, I don't mind it. On the back, I find that these wheels are a little just too narrow. They don't have staggered widths, they just have staggered offsets, so they stick out a little bit more in the back than the front, kind of like a spacer. I also find that the stance is a little bit on the aggressive side with these ones. I would like it just a little bit more tucked in. So like I said, on the back, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that they're 19s. I wish they were bigger. I wish they were 20s. And technically a 20-inch option does exist. It's called the style 409M. They're for the carbon ceramic M5, M6s. But the problem with those is that they still, like these ones, they are the same width front and rear, just different offsets front and rear to make it sit flush with the fender. And the skinny back tire does not really do it for me. It's functional, it grips fine with the X-Drive, and the fact that it's skinny means that it doesn't really sway on the sort of trams in the road, which is nice. It's easy to drive, but in terms of the look, it just ain't really it for me.
A couple positive aspects of the 408Ms is that they are very comfortable to ride on since they are 19-inch. They are lightweight even though they're cast, and they're extremely strong. They can hold up to impacts very good. They don't really have issues with bending, at least I haven't had issues with bending the wheels, and they're also easy to replace if you break one.
So the problem with the factory rims is that I just didn't like the stance, front and back. They were staggered, but particularly on the back, they were just sunken in too much. They didn't look quite right. And the back tire, we went with non-star rated tires, so we needed to use a wider rear tire than the factory recommended in order to satisfy the transfer case and the X-Drive system. And the tire was just too wide for the factory rim. It bulged out, it looked not appealing in my opinion, just oversized for that rim. And those rims weren't perfect either. They had their nicks, their scratches, welds, and all that stuff. They were really strong, really durable, but they just didn't look right for me. Based off of the specs that I can find online, the rims for the 5 and 6 series all fit this way. They just don't sit quite flush with the fender, and they're not wide enough to accommodate the 285 section rear tire that is needed to satisfy the transfer case.
All the factory 20-inch wheel options for the 5 and 6 series are cast and extremely heavy. So that's going to include your 356s, the 373Ms, the 434Ms, the 464M, and the 703M. All these wheels will make the car feel very heavy and lethargic. They're also not the strongest wheels, even though they are extremely heavy and thick. People still manage to bend them.
It leaves us with basically two options: aftermarket rims or rims from a different BMW. So I started looking at aftermarket rims. I deal with rims and tires on a daily basis. That's what I do here. We are a rim and tire shop. We straighten and weld rims on a daily basis, and I deal with aftermarket rims all the time, and I know how it works with especially really heavy cars like this one. It's never good. It's constant problems chasing bent rims, cracked rims. Bent and cracked rims is much less of a problem for factory original rims, unless you spend crazy money, 10 grand, 12 grand on a set of rims, even 5 grand on a set of used rims. I'm not about to spend like $10,000, $12,000 on a set of rims for a car that's worth maybe 20 right now, which is incredible to think that that's how much these cars are worth now. But it's true. And I've worked with those $10,000 or $12,000 rims, and while they're very pretty looking and they fit right in terms of stance, sometimes they make mistakes with machining, the bores and the bolts don't fit right, and sometimes you get a good quality rim and sometimes you don't. You never really know. Even brand names like HRE, Apex, Enkey, I've worked with those rims before, and it's hit or miss. Sometimes you get good ones, sometimes you get bad ones. I don't want that for this car. I want something that's going to work good, look good, and that's it. And so I found the sort of specs that seem to look good based off of HRE and Apex wheels. And so I saw if there was an original rim that could match those specs. And it turns out that the F80 M3, F82 M4, they had just the specs factory that I needed.
So just to reiterate, I chose the F80 platform of wheels because they are, of course, the right offsets and widths that I'm looking for, but also they have the correct bolt pattern. The newer G series platform cars are 5x112, whereas the F80 is a 5x120. And also all the F80 M wheels are forged, not cast, so they're nice and lightweight and strong. I couldn't use M5 or M6 wheels just because their offsets and widths are too aggressive for the non-M6 series.
Since the aftermarket rims didn't really do it for me in terms of pricing and, questions of strength and all that stuff, I definitely wanted to go with an original OEM BMW rim. Now that I knew what sort of wheel fitment was good for it and I knew what car it came on, I knew that I had a finite list of options to choose from. I didn't even bother looking at the 18s. 18s on this car are way too small. And so you're left with three options really for the BMW F80 and F82, M3, M4. First of all, you've got the most common 437M. It's a 19-inch all-around, which doesn't satisfy my criteria right there. It has a nice design. It's got the proper width and offsets, but it just doesn't really do it for me in terms of not being a 20-inch on the back at least. And then there's a 20-inch option as well that came on the competition models. It's called the Style 666M, and it does everything for me on paper in terms of it's a 20-inch all around, it's got the proper widths and offsets, it doesn't come in just black, but the problem is I just don't like the design of that rim. It's ugly in my opinion, it doesn't suit the lines of this car, and I said no.
Another rim I forgot to mention here, which was an option in my head, was the Style 788M. The trouble with those ones is that they are 19-inch all around. They're factory equipped on the M2 competitions, I believe.
And then there are these, and these came on the CS models, the very rare ones. These are called the Style 763Ms, and they are the proper widths and the proper dimensions all around, proper offsets, and they are a little bit different because you can't get these 20-inch all around. You can get them 19-inch all around, which kind of sucked for me. I was like, oh, that's not that great, but you can get them 19-inch front and 20-inch rear. So that is fitting all my criteria. They're OEM, forged, proper width, proper offset. The design is gorgeous. It's borderline almost aftermarket looking. These are very difficult to get your hands on. I waited several months to find these. I've got them secondhand, but in really good condition. No bends, no cracks, no welds, no repairs, original finish. Couple small little chips here and there, little scratches, but no major curb rashes or anything like that. In terms of tires, it's a bit of a mess. I want to get these on the car. Today, there's a car show going on locally and I want to participate in that with my new wheels, of course. So I have a set of used 285 3020s on the rear, and we're going to be reusing my 245 4019s for the front. There's a 0% difference from front to rear with that size setup, which is exactly what you want for a four-wheel drive vehicle. These are pretty good tread. I know they're used, but the diameter difference is going to be very negligible. So we're going to rock these for now. If I find that there's a little bit left to be desired, I may just switch them out with a new set of Indy 500s. I really like these tires, they're really good. So without further ado, let's get to work. We got to dismount these tires off these rims, and we got to put these tires and those tires on the new 763Ms. Let's get to it.